you might have just said this, but, like, generally, how long did you guys practice for before you guys were on stage for Pride and Prejudice?
Well, we got our scripts the summer before we came back to school, but we did not start rehearsal until after first date, so we only had a month. So we had all of October to rehearse, and that was pretty much it, rehearsing.
That doesn't seem like a long time.
No, it was not. Yeah.
So, for example, we picked the season shows. We started doing it a lot earlier. That way it gives our cast and our production team more time. So it's more like in the professional world. So we picked the seasons last semester, so in spring. So Fiddler, First Date, Pride and Prejudice, and The Wolves as our main shows in about May. We also did auditions for a cast for this semester's shows back then as well. So the cast of Pride and Prejudice knew what role they had or if they were even in the show, and they had all summer to learn their lines, which is good because it's a very wordy show. Our production team, for example, Match Life is the scenic, so set design, and our lighting director. And so he started thinking about those things back in May, and then everybody had a meeting together in the spring for our production team and came up with ideas and how we wanted to think about this show, and then had the summer to think about it, and then met again when we started and had a lot more concept designs. So Jill is also our director as well as the costume designer for this show, and so she was thinking of costume designs way back in May and then started making them in about August. So scenic and lighting kind of go together. You kind of have to have a set before you can think of your lighting because you have to light a set. Costumes you can kind of do without scenic or lighting, however they are very integrated in terms of making colors pop on stage and what will wash out. For example, Belle's dress is yellow, you can't have blue light, it doesn't work. You have to follow her with spotlight or else she looks gray. So they are intertwined, so Jill came up with concepts of that way before, and then started actually making them and doing mock-ups and then fittings a few months later, and then the actors started doing it. Scenic design, Matt came up with the actual concept and the actual design multiple months ago, but we only got the actual set built here and for the actors to work on about 2 or 3 weeks before the show opened, even though it was designed multiple months before. Cast also only got together and started rehearsing about a month before the show opened, which was nice that we had them know all their lines beforehand then, because it's such a short rehearsal time process for such a long production time. Sydney Perry, who plays Elizabeth, and Ryland Mayer, who plays Darcy, they probably have some of the most lines in the show, and they learned them all by themselves, probably with the help of family and friends, or some of our cast likes to record themselves saying their cue lines and then play it before their cue line, because you need to know not only your line, but the line that comes before yours, that way you don't step on anybody else's toes. It's always very interesting learning a script before you have the people who are doing it with you. So they all knew their lines in general and then came together and then put it together in about a week. Off book was 2 weeks after we got together, and then they could call line. They weren't allowed to have their scripts with them because they already should have had their blocking written down and they knew their blocking. And then about a week after that, they were not allowed to call line anymore. So then you had to do it, and then we would give line notes at the end and say, you got that wrong, here's what you need to fix. They were at the same time then, during that week when they weren't allowed to call line, adding in costumes, the week when they were off book, adding in the set, adding in lights at the same time we were adding in costumes, and adding in people about a month before. It goes pretty smoothly most of the time. There's always going to be hiccups in any single show that you do. Obviously, when you're more prepared, it works better. For example, we have a piano on stage. It rolls on wheels. Part of it broke last week, like during dress rehearsals, the week that we opened, a few days before, so we had to fix it and then repaint part of it. So then we didn't have the piano the way it was supposed to be initially, and we had to figure out a new way for them to move it. There's always things with shoes. Mrs. Bennett runs a lot. The stage was initially a lot more slippery. She almost fell. Then we hairsprayed her shoes and it made it work a lot better. There's always gonna be hiccups in every single thing. Mics always go dead for some reason. That's why we're not using mics in this show, because we thought, you know what, we're just gonna be really, really loud, not even try and deal with it, especially because it's a straight play and you use them a lot more in musicals. But it all comes together in a really beautiful show each time. Even if there are malfunctions, all of our actors and our tech just work really hard to overcome it. In Reefer Madness last year, Brandon Sartorius was our lead. Jimmy, he got incredibly sick, essentially couldn't talk. He did every single show. He had an understudy, but he pushed through it because Isaiah was also in another part of the show. We didn't want to make him pull out of it, and Brandon thought he could do it. So Brandon just yelled even more, and he made it to the back of the house, and everybody really enjoyed the show.